Hello everyone and welcome to a new tutorial. Today I'll be teaching us, and over the next episodes we'll be going on how to create a 2D platformer. Uh, Basically I'm going to be showing you the mechanics of how to create a good player controller for your 2D platformer. So in this episode we are going to set up the 2D platformer. We're going to set up the game. So first things first, we open Unity Hub and then we create a new project. So I create a new project. I'm going to make it a 2D project, a 2D core. I'm going to give it a name and say 2D platformer. So once I create the project, then there are some couple of things I need to do immediately to create this. Immediately the project is created, so I'm going to pause and allow the project load, and then I'll resume again. So we have the hierarchy view here, we have the scene view, we have the animator view, we also have the game view, we have the console, and then we have the project view, and then we have the animation view also here. Also we have our inspector. So first and foremost, I don't like the camera, so I don't like the color of the background, so I want to change that. So I go to the camera and then I change the color and I pick a very dark navy blue color, which I use most often. So I'm done with that. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to create different folders. So we need to create our folders for our script, our folder for our universal render pipeline, that's our URP. We need to create a folder for our sprites. We also need to create a folder for our input system. So in this tutorial we'll be using the new input system. So let's start creating the folder. So you right click and then you create a folder. So I call this one scripts. I create another folder. I call it URP. I create the sprite folder also. And then I create the inputs folder also for our input system. So once that is done, the next thing we need to do is we need to go to our package manager and then we need to install some packages. So I go to Windows, package manager, and you need to log in also. So you log into Unity and you connect your Unity online, so you'll be able to get packages. So first package you will be getting is the input system. I think let's get the URP first. Yes, so I have found it, URP. So this is universal render pipeline. So you can read along whatever you want to read about the descriptions or dependencies, but I'm just going to install this. Then after installing this, I would also install the new input system. We're going to be using the new input system for this tutorial. So I've installed my URP, and next I need to install my input system. So I click on the input system and I install it also. Most times input systems always tells us yes, I want to restart. So let's wait for Unity to restart and we proceed. Yes, as you can see, Unity has restarted. We have the input system. So let me close this. Then I need to go to my game object, but first and foremost let me create a URP. So right click, create. It's supposed to be under rendering, yes. So rendering, and then I'm supposed to create a URP asset with 2D renderer. I give it a name. Let's just leave it at default. new universal render pipeline asset. So created that. I need to select both. Okay, before doing that, I need to also change the graphics. I think it's in preferences. No, not here. It's project settings. Yes. So graphics. So you see it says scriptable rendered pipeline none. So I have to use the URP. Select the valid URP. So I'm using the one that we created. So I say continue, and then we proceed. Yes. Okay, we're done with that. And then the next thing we need to do, I need to move this into the URP folder. So I select or drag and put them into the URP folder. And then what I need to do next is I need to also populate the scene. So first and foremost, I need to get my sprite or my player sprite. So let me go and look for it. I think, where did I put it? Yeah, platform and tutorial. Yeah, this is my sprite. So I drag it into Unity, and then I can drag into my sprite folder. Then I can open my sprite folder, then drag my player into the hierarchy window. So I have my player in the hierarchy window already. Don't worry, it's big, but first things first, let's do this. Then next thing we need to do is I need to create a 2D collider for this, and after creating a 2D collider, I also need to create for gravity, which is coming. So I need to create a 2D collider. I'm not going to be using the box collider because most times our player is not going to be in the square shape. So except we have a player in square shape, but to be able to work with a lot of things like edge, the player walking on the edge or walking on the ledge or grabbing the ledge, we need to use a capsule collider. So I'm using a capsule collider 2D for this. Let me see. You zoom in, and then you'll be able to see a collider. Okay, I think because we are using this green color player, our capsule collider, we might probably not see it well, but if you look closely, you can see the edges of the collider, which is green. Then one other thing is for the gravity. Like I said earlier, we need to create a rigid body. So rigid body 2D. So I create a rigid body 2D for my player, and for the rigid body, we're going to be using a dynamic, not kinematic or static. We're using a dynamic rigid body. The mass is going to be left at 1. The linear drag is going to be 0. Angular drag also, I'll be leaving it at 0. Gravity scale, I'll also be leaving it at 0. Then the collision detection, I think I'll be leaving it at continuous. Continuous is better. Then start at awake, yes, and interpolate, yes, it should interpolate to allow the system work smoothly, so that the gravity will be smooth, and when the player is moving left and right or up and down, it's going to be smooth. So that's why we are using this interpolate. And continuous detection is for whenever the player is detecting collisions, for it to detect it continuously and not just once or just pick what to detect. We are going to do that with our player. So after doing this, we also need to create different layers for our player and for our level geometry, or for collisions, or what do we want the player to collide with, or what do we want the enemy to collide with. So first and foremost, let's add layers. let's add player, and we also add level geometry. So level geo. So I'm just going to shorten it as level geo. So I'm not giving it the full level geometry. You can name it level geometry if you like. So after that, I'm going to select layer and say player. So that's it. I'm going to change the tag also here to player, because I would be needing the tag if I want to find object of tag or find component of tag. Do you understand? So I would be needing that later on. Then next thing I need to do is I need to create a platform. Let me create a 2D sprite square, and then I come to scale. You just click on this button to scale, rect to scale, and then you click on the edge, and then you press shift for square. If you want it to be just scaling through the edges, you press alt for it to scale through the edges. I'm going to increase my scale. I want it to be longer. Yeah, then I'm going to move it down and just justify it and put it in the middle. So I'm going to move it down, and don't worry about what you see now. It seems as if the player is so big. What we are going to do is, let's go to the camera. At the camera, we have photographic projection, yes, for 2D, and then we need to change the size of the projection. So let's pick 8. Okay, let's do 10. 10 should be nice. Yeah, I'll go with 10. I like 10. I like 10. 10 is nice. So you see now we have this. I can increase this size also. Yeah, and then I move it down with the arrow key. I select the arrow key, the move tool, and I move it down. Now after doing that, I need to create a collider, a box collider 2D for this square. Let's rename this and call it platform. Then I'll add a box collider to it. So because we are working with 2D, we need to use box collider 2D. And one other thing that I need us to check if we installed is in the package manager is the 2D assets. So in the package manager, I'll check for 2D. Okay, I think it's installed already. Maybe because we picked the 2D core, so automatically it's installed. But we would eventually have to unlock all this later. But let me unlock it now. You can also unlock yours too, because you would need those for later. So I think I'm done with that. Then I save. Always save. Don't forget to save. Then next thing I need to do is I need to add the player input to the player. So first and foremost, you need to create a player input. I'll click on the player, scroll down and add component, and I'm just going to type input. So I'm looking for the input system. So it's the player input that I want to add. Okay, so you see now we've added the player input, but it's saying that there's no inputs here and there's nothing. So for us to do that, we need to create an input, which is why we created this folder. So let's create an input system, and then it's going to ask us where do we want to put the input system that we created. So I'm going to put it here. new input. So we have it as new input. Now you see automatically opens. You see we have input system for player move. We have WASD, and this new input system allows you to easily use your joystick, your joypad. You could see the gamepad here for your joystick, and for primarily XR controllers. So you can have that the arcade type. Then it allows us to use all those different controllers for our game, which is why we are using the new input system, because we can make this a PC game or we can make it a mobile game. So regardless, whatever, we can decide to change the controller that we are using. So, and then after this, I think we are almost done with this. I think in the next lecture we'll be talking about creating the player controller script, and then the other scripts that we'll be creating. Thank you, and see you in the next lecture.